Welcome to Jack Rose Dining Saloon. As promised, we are on location. Finally, we're gathering the industry through the Evolve series. And we started in DC for a number of reasons, as you heard. The biggest one is this is where everything's happening this month. So with some big changes possibly coming for the country, either way, there's an election that just finished. We're going to see what the ramifications of that are. But we want to talk to what owners and operators are doing right here in the district. They've been a central point of a lot of change. There's been a lot of social justice movements going on in the district. There's been a lot of movement from the mayor's office and helping businesses here. We want to hear these stories, and so we came to Jack Rose Dining Saloon and gathered a number of hospitality professionals to hear their stories. So to my left is Amy Brandwine, to her left is Jeff Muscari, and then finally we have Bill Thomas. Can each of you give a quick introduction and then a simple question to a very complex environment? How are you doing?
Well, I have two restaurants. One is Centralina. It's a market and a restaurant, and then I have a cafe across the way, very casual. You know, how I'm doing is we're doing as well as we can be expected. I think we're doing pretty well, all things considered. I can't really complain. We're still open, but I'm kind of exhausted. That's how I'm doing.
Yeah, understandably. Jeff, how about yourself?
Well, my first store is doing the best that it could do, you know, seeing the restrictions and the guidelines of social distancing, the hours of operation in terms of how long you operate for, and not having in terms of live entertainment. So we're doing well. I mean, people still have to eat food, so we're doing okay from that standpoint. But in terms of maxing out on revenue, you know, having people to come in and sit at the bar and, you know, have a cocktail with their food and stay for a few hours, that's really been hurting a lot of small business owners. And then I was fortunate enough to open up a restaurant during COVID in June, which has been doing okay for the most part. What kind of saved me was having the opportunity to have outside seating. But of course, you know, being in the hospitality industry all my life and being a business owner in the district, it's nowhere near the same to what fellow business owners are used to. So I mean, we're surviving, we're giving our staff hours, but it's really taken a toll on us personally as well. So I mean, hopefully, you know, the end is in sight, but so we can get back to normal.
Okay, I want to sit next to you closer because I want to see where you're looking to see the end in sight. I don't know. Where do you see it? I like the optimism, but that's a shit. Hold on. What do you got? You got contacts? Because I don't see Jack.
Yeah, Bill, what do you see or trying to see?
Trying to stay optimistic like everyone else. Obviously, I think that, yeah, 1 to 2 years we should be out of this. How do we survive that? Day to day. It's a day-to-day process. Mental highs and lows every day. Just trying to keep as many people employed as possible and you know, try and figure out how to set a new business model based on about 20% of your typical gross revenues, which is extremely difficult considering you can't really adjust your fixed costs and your leases and your equipment. There's not a lot of buy-in from a lot of the other parts of the industry, aren't being exactly forgiving. You know, we've had a lot of difficulties with obviously trying to negotiate financial situations with banks or even, you know, the federal or city governments in terms of deferments or sales tax forgiveness, stuff like that. So it's tough. A lot of highs, a lot of lows. So.
And we're looking at mid-November now, so about 8 months since really mid-March is when truly everything shut down. What were some of the successful strategies that you had to pivot to? I think we've all had to adapt to this. So what has been working so far, and you know, what have you kind of been a little bit proud of saying, hey, we tried this new you know, initiative to drive revenue and keep people employed. What's worked? And Amy, I'll start with you again.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that really helped us out in the beginning when they completely shut down dining is that we've always had a market. So this is my bright light, this whole thing. But when we were, the previous winter, we had been under construction and renovation, and my market had been closed, and I had decided I wanted to put everything online for the first time because I was worried about losing my customers during those time periods, and I thought, like, wow, if somebody in Cleveland Park wants my pasta, then like maybe we can figure out. I had gotten Caviar to agree to deliver my groceries, so like I was very excited about trying to do something new and innovative during that time period, and then I had started it's a lot of like legwork, and so I think we want to talk about a little bit about what we've had to do from a data standpoint to get all this data in the computer and all these things, but you know, when COVID hit, my market had been already teed up to do delivery. I'd already gotten an agreement. They'd never done this before. They said, okay, we're going to do it. And so all that work that we had done turned out it was very fortuitous. So then we were able to execute and sell. So that was a great thing. And then, you know, just, gosh, you know, I have to say, like, we've been doing the third-party delivery. That's gone okay. Very difficult, very time-consuming. And, you know, other than that, we were lucky to have a big patio, to be honest. Like, some of this is just logistical. And my team, I've been able to keep my management team, and we've been able to do things because of that. And that's really the success story that we've had so far. You know, I mean, I haven't done everything that I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I don't do Zoom calls I don't do Zoom platform parties and all these things that people are doing. I have not done that. I feel like I need to be doing that, but otherwise, you know, it's been okay, you know.
Yeah. Well, Bill, I'll let you jump in there because you guys have a Zoom call actually coming up this week.
We do. The funny thing is that's completely for charity. We actually will make $0 for the Zoom call. You know, I mean, just trying to take a look at our entire business model, well, you just can't throw everything out, even with COVID. There's still a commitment to the community, a commitment to greater issues at large. Like, you know, we started this thing called a Flight Forward, which is what's going on the 29th, which is given to causes around Black Lives Matter. So this particular single barrel with Uncle Nearest that we're doing the Zoom with the CEO from Uncle Nearest Fund Week is all charity. So that's independent. I mean, that's just a little extra work, but it fits with our core philosophy. So we're not going to just abandon everything just because we're, in a sense, drowning. But we have done Zoom. It's not my favorite thing to do. I don't think I like being in person. I like having that interaction with the guest. But we've done that. We've made the kind of adjustments that the city has allowed, which is really just kind of opportunities that the mayor put forth just after COVID began. Within weeks, we pivoted very quickly into to-go sales, and not so much delivery. In fact, not delivery at all at the beginning. We didn't even start thinking about delivery until, even though we had just signed up with Caviar before COVID hit. We had taken just lucky, but we didn't implement it because we were so focused on in-person sales with whiskey, and that was dominating our entire business model. We just shifted completely to selling either cocktails to go, whiskey drams to go, or whiskey bottles to go. And that kept us extremely busy for those first few months of COVID because all restaurants and bars were shut down. What we've had to kind of go through during COVID is we keep changing our business model depending upon how far into COVID you are and depending upon where the regulations stand at that time. So for instance, at the beginning when all restaurants and bars were closed and not allowed to have any indoor or outdoor at that point, we pivoted, to-go sales, and that kept us busy. Then as the restaurants started to open, some of our to-go sales fell off. We were focused on outside dining only. That kind of was our main core focus. Then people started to feel, and simply because the city did such a great job in terms of educating people to wear masks. DC it's a small town. The mayor showed good leadership and really kind of putting that out there that we're not going to keep pace with the rest of the country. We're going to keep pace with what's best for Washington. And she's done a great job, but that also limited, we had to kind of have that buy-in as restaurant people to say lives of patrons are more important than profits, and lives of our family, our employees, are way more. You can't just send them out to be slaughtered with, regardless of what the regulation is. But I think we bought in, the city bought in, and I think people have come out to support, whether it be dine-in, whether it be to-go, whether it be delivery. And and without that city buy-in. And I think that stemmed from the top down. And we've been very fortunate as a city that we're still able to be here talking about this issue. Obviously, the longer this goes on, no matter what we do, we need additional help, or we're not going to be sitting here in 3 months or 4 months, even no matter what, what happens. There's not enough density. We don't have enough, and the people are have supported us, can't continue to keep spending their dollars. I know that you get somebody who buys something here, then they go up to the next restaurant and buy something else, and then they go to the store and buy something else. But a lot of those people are going to be unemployed. And we're just going to have a diminishing amount of revenue or people to pull from that are propping us up. So that's our concern going forward, is it's going to be more difficult, a smaller kind of cash pool to pull from.
Yeah, the district is about 800,000 residents. Obviously, it gets into the millions when you add in all the commuters. Problem is a lot, I heard 10%, 15% is the estimate right now of the people actually coming to the city for work.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Jeff, how are you beating the odds? I mean, so many people have shut down, but you've actually opened a place during all this. So what are you focused on, and what did you kind of rally your team around to make sure that you guys were winning?
Well, I think the best thing I learned from this is how to adjust, like you said, to technology. Before, like a lot of full-service restaurants, we have a full-service menu that I adapted to the QR code, so that way I can change prices that's more cost-effective to customers, where they can save some money, and adjust the price, take items off that wasn't doing too well, as opposed to printing out $500 worth of brand new menus over and over and over. So I was able to call my assistant, my tech, and say, hey, let's do a special, lower the prices, try to drive more people in, and special out an item and shrink our menu so we don't have all this waste, and just kind of save money, really factor out the bills and see where you can cut costs internally, and really try to give out the best product at the most effective price point so people can really afford it and try to come out and support you in the best way they can. So the QR code methods I really like that, and I really think that a lot of business owners should go forward with that as well, because it's really just, hey, you call someone who's hosting your website, tell them, hey, let's adjust this price, change or take this menu off, it's not doing too well, add this menu on, as opposed to reprinting menus. And that's kind of helped in terms of really like shrinking your menu, shrinking the ordering capacity in terms of all these items that you're ordering from the food distributors and so on and so forth. And you can packaging items in terms of like a cocktail to go with a food item. So just trying to adapt and be creative. I mean, like I said, it sounds good, but it would never be what we're accustomed to. But you just have to find ways to cut down that bottom line number. So that's basically how we've been trying to survive for the most part.
Yeah, I think menus shrunk about 30% on average across the country, and it made sense. Less food waste, more purchasing power with a smaller number of distributors. But on the flip side, Bill, it's this background that we're sitting in Jack Rose at one point had 2,700 bottles here in this bar. At one point, there was down to 40 bottles, even less, on the shelves.
Correct.
It kind of sounded like almost 127 hours of you were cutting off your arm to save the rest of the body to survive. And I'm sure that was like losing a piece of your identity at one point. But you were rebuilding, but walk through that process of saying, this is what we got to do, and then how are you being smart as you rebuild and kind of restock the shelves?
It was a pretty, it wasn't nearly as difficult as people might think, simply because, obviously when we had the complete shutdown in March, there wasn't, like any other restaurant, you're on terms, you're probably about 30 days behind on your bills. So you have all that coming due. Then of course you didn't immediately we had no idea what we were going to face going forward. So, obviously no one was fired immediately. Like it's not like, okay, March 16th or whatever the date was, everyone's fired, healthcare is cut. No, those bills continued on because, you're waiting to see what's going to happen. So facing the fact that people need their paychecks, people need their health care, it was a pretty easy decision for us to make, to just clear out the whiskey. The good thing is, we were already thinking 100 years out in terms of what we were stockpiling. And that might sound crazy, but I grew up kind of differently. My family opened their first bar here in 1885. So I was thinking 100 years out because I was always mad that none of our bars are still around from 100 years ago. So we had some reserves. So I knew that we could at least get, a little bit of starter inventory back no matter what. But it really pivoting quite quickly based on the new laws that the mayor put in effect allowed us to kind of get through that first 30 days, which to me was the most crucial. We have 47 employees still on staff today. We did at one point sell all of the whiskey in here. There wasn't, by the end of May, I don't think there was a bottle on the shelf. So what we did from there was just simply start rebuilding, start working with distributors, distilleries. You know, we had the support of a lot of people around the country that were, you know, distillery-wise, especially, you know, a lot of the guys in Kentucky, Charleston, you know, they were like, what do you need? You know, do you want to pick barrels? Do you want to, you know, we'll send you a product. And that was enough to get us restocked, enough to get things on the shelves that people wanted to buy, enough to turn new dollars, new revenue. So it was a big team effort by everyone we had built up goodwill with over the last 20 years. And that really sustained us getting through and managed to keep our staff intact. Because with 47 people between the two restaurants right now, any one of our employees who wanted to come back has come back. We don't have anybody who's not waiting for us to say, give them the green light. But that's unsustainable. You know, we're going to try and last as long as we can, but it's been very tough as this has dragged on. So,
Amy, it reminds me of a conversation that we had of, you know, able to keep 47 staff here. Your staff you've been able to retain, but you also walk through the process of how hard it is to keep them motivated and also constantly learning new things because you're pivoting, which means they need to pivot too with you. So, you know, what are some of the lessons learned on keeping them encouraged and saying, hey, we're doing caviar this week, we're trying Resi or Talk or whatever the digital initiative is.
Almost all of it.
Yeah.
You know, the market, like the example, the first part of it is the market project that I had undertaken in November, December, before this year hit, and that they were very. They said, you know, what are you talking about? Like we're in the middle of the holiday season, you're talking about putting things in a, you know, what do you call it, the black box or something? And I was like, I don't know. I just feel like this is very important. So like it was a little bit like of a stretch to get them to like understand that we need to do this, even though it may not be a moneymaker. Like I need to go somewhere else with this. You know, I need to try to make sales in another way, you know, and I think it was really instructive because then when this whole thing hit and we were utilizing the technology, it was like, it was a success, you know, it was a success story. And it was like, it was nice to see something that you had as like sort of like a pie in the sky idea kind of come to light and work out. But beyond that, like, you know, we've had, the staff is great. They've been with me for almost since day one, almost everybody, you know. But that being said, you know, there's this exhaustion that I don't think people talk about. It's like innovation exhaustion, you know, and you have to do it. So it's like, you know, we closed the dining room. That happened. That was traumatic. All of our staff that was servicing customers, we didn't need them. We weren't doing our own delivery for the most part, so that was hard. And then we do caviar, and then we put the caviar online, and then the groceries are already online. And then we have 2 menus. We have we have a menu for this. We have a menu for that. We have then we do Talk, you know, and then we decide. Gosh, what else did we do? Piccolina, my other restaurant, was doing all kinds of different things like, you know, changing hours of operation, changing format, doing the QR code, like all these different things. And you know, we did a tasting menu earlier this summer for a few months, which we're going to bring back next month. But you know, it's a lot, and
especially getting ready for the cold weather.
It's a lot, and I think it's all about communication, and what I've done to keep encouraging them is just say, you know, I share most of the financial information with them and try to explain to them, like, we're going to be here next year. Or, yeah, I guess it's next year. It's been a year now. We're going to be here next year, but the only way we can be here next year is if we keep doing this stuff. And, you know, when COVID hit in March, I had there's a lot of anxiety everywhere, but there's a lot of anxiety with my staff too. Like, you know, there was a lot of places that were kind of like coming forth with the argument, restaurants and, you know, hospitality groups, like that it's not a good idea to stay open during this time period of COVID. And, you know, I was just thinking like until the Restaurant Association, till James Beard Foundation, till the government tells me to shut down in a certain way, I'm going to stay open because I don't have any evidence to tell me to do anything else. And I have to keep my doors open. I think every restaurant owner understands the minute you forcibly close your doors is a problematic situation. So it was very hard to go forward and say, this is what we need to do and here's why we need to do it. And you have all this chatter in the back with the media. They're all talking about, shame on these restaurant owners for staying open. And, I can understand everybody's point of view. But leading your employees through this process, I had to sit down with them. I said, what do you guys want to do? And this is what I think we need to do. I said, if you guys don't feel comfortable with this, I'm going to hire you as soon as you do. But for the meantime, we need to do this so we can keep going. And, it's hard to lead a group through, customer crisis, health crisis, financial crisis, and then innovation. But now they understand that what we did was to our benefit. And so, to your point, I think it's communicating why we're doing things and that we have to do them, and that I have everybody's best interest at heart because I want Centralina and Piccolina to be standing when this whole thing comes to a conclusion, But the stress that you put on your staff to have to do all these innovative things, it does wear them out a little bit, because they also have to deal with customers. So, and customers right now, my experience is, at this point, they're not as forgiving as they were before. which seems unbelievable, but.
And Jeff, how about yourself? How are you keeping staff engaged? And, like I said, you're growing. I know you hired more staff.
Unfortunately, I did have to close down one of my stores from COVID. We just got hit hard. It was off of U Street, and it just wasn't the same, and everyone around that area was just getting hammered. So, fortunately, I was able to retain my staff and take them to the other stores. So we just communicated with them, let them know hey, you're not in this alone. We're fighting to bring in more people. Letting them be involved more with any ideas they can come in and help out. Let them know that the severity of what's going on. We still have to follow the rules, but there is other ways to be smart and creative to bring in some revenue. So just making them feel involved and let them know that hey, hopefully the stuff will be past us soon and we'll just get back to normal. But for the most part, everyone's been working. Like you said, the first month was very scary for everyone. So a lot of people were just I'm not coming to work. So I had that for a while. Some people did show up to work. So then people started coming back. So we went from just doing to-go orders to adjusting, as the rules broke, to 25% occupancy and then 50, and so then people gradually started coming back to work. So they know that we was was there for them. We let them know it wasn't no hidden secret that we had PPP. We gave some people some raises and let them help out with the benefit of the program that was available. We gave them 4 hours full schedule. So they really appreciate that. So we just kept them in the loop.
Yeah. And Bill, you kind of talked about being that mental cheerleader, and I'm sure that has a big part of keeping 47 of your staff, and even when you don't feel it, you make sure you put that brave face forward.
The whole industry as a whole, and this was the biggest problem or devastation from COVID ultimately would be, for so long now we've been fighting to obviously make this a true occupation, that you could do for your entire life, that you would have, some sort of benefit, you would have health insurance. It would be seen as a profession, a true profession again, like it was, say, in the 1920s. And we've kind of had a setback because so many people now are saying, okay, what is the stability within the industry for me to say I want to be in this industry for another 20 or 30 years? It's a major setback, and we need to pivot very quickly when this is over to try and create some stability. So first of all, looking forward, how are we creating a business model now that has all of the bells and whistles that we can pivot very quickly to make sure that people have other roles within the company to move into in case this downturn again? Obviously, larger cash deposits on hand. So when this happens again, obviously, insurance rules need to be rewritten to anticipate these things. And there's got to be some sort of federal funds as well that have to be kind of earmarked. As far as the cheerleading goes, we decided very quickly, obviously, that we would try to retain as much of the staff. We pivoted very quickly, had them go into roles as basically salespeople, retail salespeople. We started doing 2 bags of groceries a week every Wednesday, all the staff, and back then there were 60 some people that were showing up for 2 bags of grocery a day, so we kept in constant contact with the staff. That kind of mental thing, checking in with them, is everybody doing okay? Cash flow, how's everything going? So that was one way that we kind of were able to keep that kind of team mentality together at that period where we weren't open inside and out, just prior to the PPP money coming in. The PPP money definitely helped in terms of, as an employment agency, did absolutely zero for any small business owners. I mean, at the end of the day right now, you're kind of mentally figuring out, how do I keep people employed? How do I keep the restaurant lights open? And that is the main goal of all of us. At the end of the day, we as restaurant owners aren't making any money. We're going into additional debt regardless of what's happening, because the restaurants themselves, small business, haven't gotten anything. So right now, you're really focused on people. That's the only thing, keeping them uplifted, keeping the jobs, because if we close, if all the people sitting on this panel close, then the people that deliver the food, the small, distributor, Path Valley, the people in Pennsylvania, all these people, it's just going to trickle down, And I've kind of taken on that kind of thing, that it's going to stop here. We're going to be the ones that pay our bills, that keep people employed, that pay our vendors, that try and help. And I think the more restaurants that just dig in and say, what's an acceptable loss? Because that's what it is. What is an acceptable loss? What can I get by on? What credit cards can I use? What can I sell personally, whatever? That's where we are as a small business organization. We've really just taken to heart that it's more important to keep the lights on and people employed than it is for our personal well-being, our personal happiness, our personal wealth. All of that's gone out the window. And anybody who's open right now has taken that same sort of mindset, that they're focused on the people and they're focused on the city. And we've all said, support the people within your neighborhood, because if you want your neighborhood to still have that sort of look when this is over, you've got to support them now or it's out. So it's kind of like putting it out there, thanking everyone who comes in and spends money, whether it's $10 or whether it's $500. I say thank you to everyone. Just whatever they do to pitch in, because those $10 add up. You get 50 people a day, $500, it's a lot. I mean, right now we're really, every time I sell one of those bottles, I'm like, that's potentially even a $15 profit. That's minimum wage. At least somebody I can pay something. So really, just mentally, they seem to be, the staff seems to be more resilient. When they see us trying to keep the place open, that alone kind of lifts their spirits. They know what we're going through. They're not blind. They are here to support us, and they've done everything we've asked. I can't think of anyone who has not been anything less than a stellar employee during these times. They understand what we're going through. They've worked with us, whatever we need. I mean, I just can't say, if you run your business as well, and if you run it we've kind of, in hospitality, when I say we want to be that profession that you can spend, but at the same time, it really is a family. It's that one kind of job where, when someone decides to quit and move on or has you feel a little sad. When you lose somebody from your team, you're like, what could I have done better? Could I have kept them? Did I create more opportunity? Just trying to keep everybody uplifted, but them showing up every day and making a quarter of the money they used to, like 20% of the money they used to, the tipped employees. Obviously, with the earned tip credit, minimum wage is always going to be a minimum, but making $40 an hour or seeing them come in here and maybe make just over minimum wage or whatever, and happy to do so and happy to be here and be part of the team, that keeps me wanting to push forward. So you work off each other, your staff to you, and just you're trying to move ahead. And try and create a new business model that'll be sustainable post-COVID, before the next COVID. Let's face it, we have to put these things in place, or we're going to be facing this again, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. Unfortunately, my girlfriend's an epidemiologist with the DoD, so I live with this. At 7:30 this morning, I heard her on the, in her office, on the phone with, generals and stuff, like, okay, this is a bad day. Today's a bad day, whatever. So I live it 24 hours a day right now, so it's not looking very, very good, and ultimately will happen again. It's what we're going to do to prepare.
Well, it's great to hear that you have that fight, and I mean, all of you have that same mentality of hospitality for your fellow community and your staff. But you did mention cash reserves, and Jeff, I'm going to go back to when you were first opening up gyms. You went through an issue where you ran out of cash. Because, you know, as projects go, and we can go down the street and see the same thing. You know, it takes a lot longer to open than you might hope and expect. There's a lot more repairs and costs. So you ran short of cash then, and then your second place, similar things. What were the lessons learned from that? And did that actually help you heading into COVID of knowing, I got to have a reserve, I got to have this mentality of cash flow, and what was your thought process of, I've been here before to a degree, and I can get through it again?
Well, mainly just the resources, and I'm trying to be as hands-on as possible to really save money, but not cut corners. Excuse me. Save save money. You have to be there daily to see what's going on with construction, because the contractors might not show up a whole week and you pay them in draws. And so, I mean, it's to get rough. You just got to know your resources. Talk to the ANC, the local ANC, and see what the mayor's office has going on for any type of business relief funding or so on and so forth. But you just have to be prepared budget-wise, because I went into my first project under budget, being overly ambitious, and I almost didn't make it. And lucky I ran into a nonprofit organization in DC, WASF, who helped me complete the project. So you just got to know your resources to get out and speak to people and see what's going on, and really nail that budget sheet. You really just need to nail the budget, because that really hurts a lot of businesses. It's not, 9 out of 10 restaurants fail. It's not because of their product or their service. They never really get over that initial hump in terms of opening correctly, because they're under budget, they have their staff, and then payroll hits, and the clock's ticking as fast, and just get overwhelming. So I had to get through all that stuff, and then really just budget my projects correctly to really, go to the next level in terms of being a business owner. So mainly just focusing on the budget and using your resources, because DC is a high real estate. And construction is at an all-time high. All these contractors have a lot of work right now, even during COVID. So you just have to be very, very careful on how you budgeting out your projects.
Yeah. Amy, you're award-winning chef. Do you feel more like an accountant in financial analysis the last 8 months than ever before? Or have you been still able to focus on the craft? And I know you also have been looking for sources for grant programs, and I think you have got some things from the DC office. Can you want to comment on that?
I'm always into numbers, to be honest. I've always been like that. So, I manage this. I'm a chef. It's hard because I'm a chef and I'm really creative, and then I'm also really maniacal about spreadsheets and numbers and money.
You got to be in the kitchen and be on the outside.
Yeah, and so I'm constantly working. This is my life. If I'm not, and I have to cook all these amazing dishes that everybody's coming in for, and then I'm also crunching these numbers. And so this sort of split personality is me. But I like it. It's fun. But to your point, we did. I think Jeff was talking in the beginning about just all this PPP and stuff. It absorbed 1 month of my time filling all these forms out. I literally was just at my computer. I had my little digits were in pain from filling out so many applications. They were bruised, and I was like, God, I never knew your fingertips could get sore. But anyway, that, and I took advantage of the DC government has been just really great. Besides the health situation, managing the health crisis, I took advantage of the, the emergency grant. I took advantage of the street winter program, and I just applied for the resiliency fund. And so if you add all that stuff up, it's quite a bit of cash, So it's all about capturing every single dollar you can, however you can, And to your point about working, I think one of the reasons that I'm in this situation in a good way is that I've always been a working chef. Even 5 years in, I work every day. I don't have a chef that does my work for me, And so I save a lot of salary by doing that. you know, and I think that that is a really important thing because, I mean, right now, I mean, you got to be in your places, I think, you know, so anyway. But yeah, I mean, one of my things has just been, I've been working in the restaurant as an employee. I mean, I own the company.
I know where I'm going this weekend.
Please come in.
Yes,
and I
I
want
will.
to. And
I'll
so,
be in.
yeah, I mean, I'm an employee of my own company, and I really take that seriously. And so, like, I show up every day, and I work as a working chef. And so I don't pay, you know, I mean, when you talk about budgets and stuff, I pay what I would pay a working chef. You know, I don't pay myself like my CEO, whatever it is. But, and that's huge. Because right now it really matters.
Yep. Same way when I first opened the first store, I'm a working chef as well. So it's very hard for us because, you know, we have to be, you know, working. And for the first 4.5 years, I never left off the kitchen. I never really got to learn the outside. You know, people, only time I left the kitchen, people, who's the chef? Who's the chef? That's the only time. So, you know, it's a lot of work, you know, because people want to come in for your food. They know your food. And so you're almost essentially like you're not even the owner, right? You just are working. You're an employee, like she said. Like it's a lot of work, so it's very hard.
Yeah. And Bill, I know you guys set up a whiskey shop here, which I think we're going to show some footage of that. And you've been personally recommending bottles as people walk in.
Yeah. I think it's been 13 days off since COVID hit, and most of that time has been traveling to buy whiskey to then put into the shop. So we're working around the clock, and I've been at it since about 5 a.m. this morning because you don't sleep. Yeah. You're so stressed out, you don't sleep. You're looking for stuff to do. Honestly, being in here is like contributing to keeping your business alive is all you want to do. If you could work 24 hours a day, you would do it. If you had something to do, if you had a customer that said, I will meet you at 2 a.m. if that was illegal, you know, to sell a bottle, I would be here, you know. Whatever I can do to hustle a buck. It's, you know, you're just hustling. You're constantly figuring out how can I cut costs, how can I sell a new product, you know, what can I do to make that extra 50 cents? I mean, you're literally doing this for just like, what can I do to keep the lights on every day? How do I keep them? It is literally never about what I'm going to put in my pocket. Nothing. That is out the window. It is simply one focus. How do I make it till tomorrow?
Not to mention you have landlords too, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm my own landlord.
So you're lucky, yeah. Yeah.
You know,
that's
like a double-edged sword.
Some landlords, I have, you know, still send me the invoice every month, same amount. Some landlords be like, okay, hey, we can work with you. So it's all in who you're dealing with.
Yeah, that does seem to be the case, yeah.
The landlords have to, I mean, there's going to be a complete shift in the city. There's going to be a complete rework of how everything is done. So it's necessary.
I mean, I just don't. I mean, I'm driving around from where my restaurant is just to go to the bridge tunnel, and it's like I didn't want to get in a car accident if I was just like counting how many storefronts were papered, and it's like it's everywhere. Like, how is that sustainable? Like, what are we going to do about that? Like, it's just crazy. Like
property tax. That's what's killing me right now. Is like we were just arguing with, as the business improvement district here, we were arguing about sale, and we were arguing about property tax. And like, so far all we've gotten is commitment from OTR not to raise property tax. Wait a minute, we're only using, and for 7 months now, which is, you know, 6 months out of the year, we've already gotten charged. We're operating at 0 to 20% of our occupancy. And you're acting like this property is worth what it was 7 months ago. And maybe it will be again 2 years from now. But right now, you're charging us as though it is this fantastic thing. And our business models are based on numbers that aren't there anymore. It's a fantasy. Everything in our model is a fantasy. And, you know, the locations we chose due to foot traffic, all of that is over. And it is over for at least another year, perhaps longer, perhaps 2, simply because of obviously getting the vaccine, getting it out there, getting people that are more at risk to actually take it because they're going to be concerned. They want to see. All of this stuff is going to take time. We're looking at least a 2-year bounce back. That I can definitely say, at least 2 years before all of us are looking at revenues the way it used to be. So in that 2-year period, how do we address these simple things like property tax, sales tax, late fees? You know, I mean, our city has been fantastic, and what the mayor has done, allowing us to have the additional revenues to create. And I think that was the main thing, is small business people are resilient. Small business people are used to pivoting. Opening up doors for us to do that was the most important thing because it kept revenues coming into the city. It kept revenues coming in our doors. It was able to keep our people staffed. We need to be looking at, there's got to be an organization that's looking at, okay, what else can we do to help small business grow the new business model? What other things are they going to need? And they need to be thinking for years. They can't just be thinking a temporary thing. Okay, we'll keep extending 3 months on streetery or whatever. You need to be thinking at least 2 years from now and then longer, because we all have to redo our business models. So what does that look like? That's a group that needs to be formed, and we need to be actively looking at that for all the small business people. And we have to be looking at landlords. What is going to be the ramification here, especially for some people who maybe have personal guarantees, again, with their landlord, that could lose everything, that are struggling to keep their people. They're more concerned about keeping their people alive than they are about their personal, wealth and what it could ultimately lead for them. And who's going to be lining up to invest in restaurants? Who's going to be lining up to come into our industry, talented people that say, wow, I really want to do that for 50 years. Wow, I really want instability and not knowing if I'm going to make it. Who wants that? I mean, that's not what we fought so hard to get here, and now we've just taken a much larger step back.
Not to mention the cost of goods too. Like you have the giants, like the big time food distributors, prices going up, skyrocketing. I mean, it's not fair to us. Like a price of wings is at the all-time high. It's like, so as she mentioned, as being a chef and a cook and an owner, we have to come into work and line up all, have to call these distributors. What's the price this week? What's the price this week? Why is it so much from as opposed to a couple of months ago? I'm ordering more than before. So it's very tough. There's a lot of work to it. And instead of just opening the doors and, trying to market and get creative, you have to pinpoint every single number, the bottom line number, because there's a lot of holes in there where people will charge you, so much from the beginning of COVID till now. It's like, hey, what's going on? We're still in COVID. It's still a huge effect. So,
and let's think about all of the parties that we either cater or we host, and all that's out the window.
Correct.
And that's a huge part.
That's a huge
part of our business that is not coming back.
Q4 is terrible because there's so many holiday parties for businesses, especially here in DC. Families gathering. Yeah, and that's in a few weeks. And are you guys thinking about holiday themed? I know you were thinking about baskets and some things. I know here you're doing cocktails to go, but are you thinking about that?
DC is a tourist city. We live off people coming and traveling. Hey, I want to come try this spot. I'll try this spot. The foot traffic, like you said, none of that stuff is happening. None of that stuff is happening.
Yeah, and parties. If you're December, you live or die based on what parties you book in September, October for December. So obviously, not having that means revenues in December are going to be horrible. Yeah, obviously we're trying to figure out gift things, like we've ordered boxes and we're doing drams to go and we're coming up with themes and stuff, stocking stuff. Essentially we're turning into, I said in the next 2 weeks, as of November 2nd, when the new packaging comes in, this will look more like a counter at Macy's than it will look like a bar. It's going to be every sort of small packaged item that someone could buy for $19.95, $29.95, $39.95, just as a way to increase revenues. We're looking literally at fighting for pennies to stay afloat. That's literally where we are. And we just need them to add up. We just need to get enough pennies. It's crazy. But that's how we've had to think. We're thinking back to complete retail.
Which is smart, because that's what's your options right now. That's your revenue stream, especially in the holiday season. So it's my last question, and I think you guys kind of touched on this a little bit, but looking back, and if you were to take a breath and think about what are you most proud of over the last 8 months of how you've responded? And let's fast forward a year from now when you're looking back, what do you think you're going to be the most proud of? And Amy, I'll start with you.
Just being very clear and decisive about what we were going to do from the beginning, and not listening to a lot of voices that were, kind of clouding, like, as a business owner, what I should be doing with my own business, I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but, and then the team, my management team, everybody's seen how committed the employees are to my company. It's been remarkable. So I think just seeing the resilience in my team and how strong the company is, I guess, is the point, is that how much people want to work there and how important it is for them as employees to make sure this place is still there for them. It's been great. It's been heartwarming, but it's like you hope you're making some kind of positive impact with your employees, and when things like this happen, you see that people like they really do care, you know.
Great. Jeff?
Well, for me, it's been the social recognition that I've received being a Black-owned business owner. Unfortunately, due to the social injustice and the incidents that's been occurring throughout our country during the pandemic, recently, there's been a lot of protests and stuff going on throughout the country, and the love and support that I've received from people all races, and they don't even know me personally, but they know it's a Black-owned business, and showing the support has been wonderful. Not only that, during COVID, a lot of DC public school kids rely on their free meals. So when school was canceled, me and my team we did free kids meal for every DC public school student, and it wasn't no little cereal cheap. It was actual real food. So stuff that we have on our menu, because you want the kids to know good food, and we know that we kept it going the whole time throughout the whole school year. So we know that kids had the opportunity to eat good food. So that was really good. We got a lot of good feedback from that. And like I said, just for the support I've been receiving from everyone about, what I've been doing, being able to open up a store for COVID and being a Black-owned business owner, and the social, like I said, a lot of people coming out really showing support has been wonderful. And on my end too is to keep my staff in place. I didn't have to let anyone go. People keeping jobs and keeping their hours. Like Bill said, we know it's not about us right now. We just want to keep our doors open and make sure that people have their jobs. So to have that aspect and that part completed, it's it's a sign of relief. Even though, like you said, we're tired. We're tired. We were waking up early for no reason now. He just reminded me, hey, there's not gonna be any holiday parties this year. I'm like, you know what? We around this time we think about, hey, let's try to get 6 to 10 holiday parties in to make up for the lost revenue, because people might be out of town, or it's holiday times, people save for Christmas. We won't have that. So, we're doing what we can, like you said. We're doing the best that we can, and we can't stress that enough. So hopefully that, like I said, the end is near us. If not, there's be more relief for the restaurant owners association, for the industry that we're in. That would be more of a bigger relief for us, so we can really make it through this, because we're tired of seeing restaurants. We're not competing with our neighborhood restaurants anymore. We're tired of seeing them close down. The more businesses that close down, it just look bad all across the board. So we just want us to, small business is what makes America. We don't want the people to not have that dream of owning their own business. My kids are proud of what I'm doing. I've been inspired by people ahead of me. I love people in the industry. I love my colleagues. I know where I'm coming down to grab my whiskey. I know where I'm going to eat dinner. So it's all support. Yeah. It's a very depressing time for us, but we of course we're going to always support each other. But like I said, so yeah, it's not about us right now. We know that the mayor's doing a very good job in terms of keeping the numbers down. DC is one of the biggest cities, in terms of economics. So that's pretty much it.
Probably the biggest thing, first of all, I'm looking forward to the best Christmas party in about 2 years from now, when I get all of our people together in one room. First of all, if we decide not to do it here, do not take our contract, because it will be a party that will probably break things. Right? You don't even want us in there.
25 days of Christmas, the whole December. Huh?
Shit, man. I can't imagine that party. That party when we're all able to be in the same room at the same time, because that last day of COVID, when they said, okay, you can no longer open, and I went to the new restaurant that we had opened up 70 days before COVID hit, and I was there with like 3 or 4 employees, and my girlfriend were eating, and then as employees got off, we had to close by 10. They were coming off eating for free and drink, and seeing us kind of sitting around the restaurant for that last time, not knowing what to expect in the future. The one thing is, when this is over, that I kept the staff together, that they were glad that they chose to work with us, because let's face it, the city was booming, and you could work for anyone talented, had so many options, that they decided to work with us, and that we supported them and they supported us during this time, that we kept the lights on, that we'll be open when all this is over, and that I truly think that we're in the best city in America. I was so lucky to be brought up in this area where I didn't want to move away. To me, living in the city was like the greatest thing ever. And I think that we really are the best city. And I think during COVID, we have really, from the mayor's leadership down to, the head of our bids, our executive directors, to Kathy, the head of the Restaurant Association, I think we have seen just strong leadership. And let me say this, in all three of those positions, it's women and minorities and all of this that have led the city through COVID. So, I mean, I just believe that the
Thank
city...
you for saying that.
Yeah. When this city, I think that when you look around the city, and I'm always asking my girlfriend, how are we comparing? I'm more proud of how we're comparing that our mayor took a look at, an older population that the city has, an ethnic population, the people that were most at risk, and she made decisions based on actual people. And that's what was so, and I think that's what makes this city, and we're so small, we're so manageable in a sense, and we're so family, that I think when this is over, this city will look back and say, we did it well, we did it right, we supported our people. And if that, at the end, when this is over, when people talk about Washington, D.C., they'll say, that's a hospitality town, that's a town that cares, and that's a town that put people first. And I think when it's all over, that's what is going to be remembered for us about COVID. And unfortunately, some of the people, the people we lost, because we've all known people that have passed away during COVID, from COVID, and also just passed away during those troubled times when you couldn't see your families. So there's going to be a lot to shed a tear about, but there's going to be more to celebrate when this is over, I think, than anything. So.
Well said. So thank you, all three of you, for sharing your time and your experiences with us. Stay tuned. We're going to do a quick break, and then we have the rest of the day full of content, a lot of great insights on delivery, on how to manage your online reputation. There's a happy hour to end all this, so stick around. And again, thank you all for being a part of this.
We're booking all 6-person Christmas parties now.
Yeah.